Oi, oi, hello and welcome to days 3 and 4 of the Doncaster St Leger Meeting Trends videos. We will be doing a GG weekend watch for Saturday's racing, so you better check that out too on the channel. So with that said, make sure you are subscribed. You'll be notified when videos come out. Make sure you're liking the video because it's nice to be nice. And drop a comment below with what your thoughts are or your expectations for the 4-day meeting at Doncaster. Who's the one horse you're most excited and looking forward to see? Or just give me some feedback on these videos to let me know how I can make them a little bit better or more engaging for you guys to keep watching. But we're going to crack on. I'll pull the cheat sheets up on the screen for each day. I'll go onto the Racing Post website, whittle down the field, but I'll speed that up in the edit, and then I'll come back and talk to you after about the results. We've got our entry stage. We do have some real good races. We've got the Irish Champion Stakes on Saturday. I've also done a bespoke piece for that, so I'll link that in the description. That goes back to the turn of the century, so we've got longer period trends in there. But as time moves on, you can see there's sometimes recency bias does help, or things are changing. So well worth to look at it from the two sides. And I've also done that for the St Leger, the big race of the weekend at Doncaster. So when we talk about the cheat sheets for day 3, Saturday, we've got the St Leger in there. I'll show you the 10 buck trends, and I'll tick the box to those. And then if we need to, I can allude to what the bigger article may say. That I think they're well worth reading. They're handy things just to have in the back of your mind. Just for example, if the Nunthorpe, I've mentioned this in the last video because it's quite easy to do, but you really do want to be drawn low in a Nunthorpe. It's going to be one of those that it will stand the test of time until they do something about it. There will be certain places you want to be. So anyway, that said, I'm going to crack on and I'll bring up the screens now and we'll go through Day 3's cheat sheet. Kicks off with the 150, the Betfred Champagne Stakes. Group 2 over 7 furlongs. Now, I'll quickly just do this at the start. I won't keep going over it, but you'll see that there's 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Sometimes there might be 5 or 6. I will put in something that I think is significant enough to be well worth knowing. But obviously, you really want to be looking at the ones that happens most of the time. Now, I don't put the percentage qualifiers from previous years in here because, as a quick example, just to say, if 9 of the last 10 winners had already run at 7 furlongs is a stat I'm saying is something we need to follow. But in fact, every single horse that's ever run in this race has already run at 7 furlongs. Obviously, that's not the case because it's 9 out of 10, but it might be the case that it's a trend in there it's 90% because 90% of them have already done it, if you know what I mean. So that's why if I put these extra ones in there, if we need to whittle it down a little bit further, we can. But as I say, these should be an assistance to something else. But they are really interesting, especially when we get to the handicaps, to see who comes out on top. Group race class potentially is going to prevail, isn't it? So look, 9 of the last 10 winners had already run at 7 furlongs. 9 of the last 10 winners ran at 7 furlongs last time out. 9 of the last 10 winners did not run in the last 3 weeks. 8 of the last 10 winners came from the first 2 in the market. 8 of the last 10 winners were priced 3 to 1 or shorter, and 8 of the last 10 winners ran in listed company or better last time out. Look, there's a couple in there as well. You've got 7 of the last 10 were not unbeaten, but I mean, an unbeaten horse coming in, do you really want to look at that as a negative? It may just be that it proves its pace, but we'll see. And then 7 of the last 10 winners won last time out. So that could be an interesting one if you wanted to be harsh and whittle it down. So look, I'll do that. I'll put up the Racing Post page for us within here, and then I'll go through each of these races. I'll show you how quickly now, just a bit of a discussion of looking at the card. So you can do it on Pro Card or you can do it just on card. There is the option to have a cross that you can click here. As soon as you click that, when a horse doesn't tick the boxes, it will peel them out. I'll just zoom in a little bit further so it's easier to see. And then I'll crack on with that and I'll come back to you guys once that's done and talk to you about the shortlist. Okay, so we're left with 3 runners in here. We've got some short-term anti-post prices on the side, so they could potentially help us out with. I touched on the fact that there was a strong prevalence to those that were short in the market, 3 to 1 or shorter, or the first 2 in the betting. Amore City is the biggest trend ticker, along with Seagulls 11 and Wolf of Badenoch. But you've got to look at the fact that Amore City did win last time out. So I touched on, I'll put it up again. When you get down to these extra ones in here, look, 7 of the last 10 winners were not unbeaten, and 7 of the last 10 winners won last time out. I would give preference to Amore City because it won last time out, and obviously the market does so too. So look, it's not the best start if you're looking for juicy value in these types of ones, but look, the graded races are there to be won by the good horses. Amore City looks like he's probably the most likely winner of the opener at Doncaster, but there are a couple there for Hugo Palmer, depending on who he's going to run, that might be ones for your play spot if you wanted to take the favourite on. But look, there are legs to do that later on. I'm sure we'll see that as we pick through the rest of the card. So look, let's crack on. We'll move on to the second race, which is the Portland Handicap. We've got a couple here that are all of the last ones. So these do help. But again, potentially we could have most of the field that qualify on some of these. So I do go much further down. Now, when I get down to the bottom on these ones, you'll see again, there is some 7 out of 10s, but there is a 6 out of 10 in here as well. So look, they have run over 5.5 furlongs. when I do distances, sometimes I might do an about distance. So if it's, I don't know, 16 and 1 mile 6.5 furlongs, I might look at if they've run at 1 mile 6 or 1 mile 7, because it lets you know that they do stay. Over the shorter trips, I'm quite keen to know the nicheness of horses that have run at the exact trip, because you get 5 furlong horses that look like they want to step up, don't quite see out the 6 furlongs. You get 6 furlong horses that seem like it's a bit too much, and you assume that those distances would help them out. But it is keen to see how many have tried. So look, I think that's a good number, considering there's not too many tracks that have the trip that have already tried the distance beforehand. So again, I'd be giving preference to those horses if I needed to whittle it down a little bit further to make a longer list, a shorter list. Anyway, let's crack on. All of the last 10 winners ran in a class 2 or better last time out. All of the last 10 winners did not win last time out. 8 of the last 10 winners were drawn in stall 10 or higher, so that could be quite important. 8 of the last 10 winners carried 9 stone or more. 8 of the last 10 winners had 5 or more runs that season. 8 of the last 10 winners ran in a handicap last time out, and 8 of the last 10 winners ran within the last 28 days, and 3 of those ran 8 days ago or less. So horses may be saved for this race, but it does look as though the horses have run in the last 4 weeks, and some have even run real recently if they have been saved for it. 7 of the last 10 winners ran at 5 or 5.5 furlongs last time out. So again, that's probably leaning more towards the fact that you'd be looking for a horse that's run at the trip or stepping up as opposed to coming back from 6, but doesn't mean it's the end result. And then yeah, we can do that to peel out the rest of the stats. So look, leave me to do that. I'll come back and I'll tell you who qualifies. Okay, so that was quite harshly done, I believe. There's a couple of trends in there which we don't know for definite yet. We definitely don't know the draw if they're drawn in stall 10 or higher. I mean, preference really would go for that for 12 or higher too, but we also don't know who's definitely going to carry the 9 stone or more. But Albashir's jocked with Holly Doyle. I think Albashir is going to come in. Was obviously running in the Beverly Bullet last time out, so it didn't run in a handicap last time out, so it doesn't qualify in terms of these trendy bits. But I don't think the weights will move. So him being top weight, I've left it as it is. Look, the ones that tick the boxes, and I've looked at running at 5 and 5.5 furlongs last time out. I haven't gone all the way down to if they've run over 5.5 before, so we could potentially do that with these 3. But look, just as a short list from a big race, we've got Holcomb Bay, Pocklington, and Silky Wilkie that at this point potentially come out on top. Look, there's a couple of 12 to 1 pokes in there. Silky Wilkie's not currently jocked at the moment. Whether he comes here or not I don't know, but this could be the short list that comes out. I would just say, with a big race like the Portland Handicap, look, draw would come into it, and obviously we need to see final fields to know what the weights carried are. If Albashir doesn't run, then a lot of these could bump up that may have qualified, but that at this point gives us a little bit of a view. I do think these will help. Again, we talk about place pot leg, we talk about extended places with bookmakers as well. You'll get some of these that might be a little bit of a price that I think are they're worth a second glance anyway. You've got horses with duck eggs against their name too, but that doesn't matter in this particular race. You've got Elman Jed at the head of the market that did win last time out, won the last twice, hasn't he? But all the last 10 winners hadn't won last time out, so that's why he's not here. Right, let's move on. Betfred Park Stakes, Group 2 over 7 furlongs. This is the type of race. Again, it's a group race. I think it'll be easy to find the winner, but this will be a good one because we've got lots of the alls. We've got a nice 9 in there as well. And then we've got a few at the bottom, which are actually going to help with, I think, potentially whittling down even further. So the draw again at the bottom, the 7 of the last 10 winners are drawn in the bottom half. The others were all the highest drawn. I think is interested. It depends on the final field, but if you were to get 8 runners, for example, you want a horse drawn in 4 or lower or in exactly stall 8. Now, it does depend on the field sizes, depending on how relevant that stuff can potentially be. But even in smaller fields, it's still been those that have been down the bottom. Again, running it against expectation and prices and things like that, you could analyze it a little bit further. But as it stands for this, I'm trying to make them nice, quick and easy to see how much they can whittle the fields down. So again, let me click through these. I'll speed it up in the edit. We'll come back and talk about it after, and we'll keep moving through these as swiftly as we can. Okay, so we've managed to whittle this field down pretty swiftly, to be honest with you, in the Betfred Park Stakes. Now I have left Kinross in here, and I'll quickly go back to the stats just to look. We talked about the being rated 111 plus, but we didn't talk about, I didn't say it, but you can see him there. Ran a group race last time out, had already won a Group 2 or Group 3, etc., etc. Had 1 win that season, or had no more than 1 win, that's fine, but had 4 or more runs this season. So that is something that he doesn't tick the box on, but he is who he is, right? And I just wanted to say that because he is a favourite, and I do put in here about horses that I get really close to the qualifications, and I don't want to just throw out a big flyer in here because then we're just left with that, and everyone might think it's the one. But again, we're taking these with a pinch of salt, I guess. Should Have Been a Ring is the one that ticks every single box, though, in terms of going further down in these trends. The number of runs this season, no more than one win this season. Look, there's horses like Lead Artist and Noble Dynasty that have come out because they have more wins. Could be a stupid thing to say out loud, so you can pick and choose which ones of those that you personally do. But in the way that I've done this, Should Have Been a Ring would be the standout contender in here. Kinross I'd be willing to forgive, but then you could forgive Lead Artist and Noble Dynasty for the fact that they've had those couple of an extra win this season, which maybe doesn't look as a negative. But if we were to do it properly, Should Have Been a Ring would be the one that comes out as a standout in here. Jocked Up was expected to run a little bit better than he did last week in the Sprint Cup, I believe. So maybe the step up in trip squat's going to help this horse out. Look, it is what it is with these trends. We don't know whether it's going to be a perfect science. It never will be. But we're going to get horses at big prices that, like I say, if Should Have Been a Ring wins the race at 25s and people say, how the hell did that win? If you were to come back to the cheat sheet, that is how a horse like this would win the race. But look, there are form arguments to go with him too. Let's move on, because this is where I start to get excited, especially when those group ones come out. Like, it's nice to see these ones that are less obvious that could come in that, we might get a bit of a chance for. So Betfred St Leger Stakes, the feature race of the week, we have got You Got To Me that's been supplemented for a race. Now, I don't have the stats at the top of my head, but horses that get supplemented for a race cost the owners money, right? It's got to be well worth noting. They're not running them in there to not pick up any prize money. So they sort of stand alone, but you want them to tick a lot of boxes as well. As I say, I have got the specific St Leger cheat sheet on its own. Let me pull that one up. If I do for the St Legers, I do all these bits as well about focus trends on price, draw the official ratings last time out, do the comparison of like this century compared to the last 10, and then there's a bit of a summary at the top of the ones that you want to look for in terms of what goes there. Like the Great Voltage has been a decent launch pad for the race. If it's run at Doncaster, should have won. If it's run at 14 to 15 furlongs, should have won. Probably has 4 more runs a season, at least 1 win. So like a slightly different way to look at it, but obviously we're doing this off of the back of these, so it'll be similar, same type scenarios that come out anyway. But look, 9 of the last 10 winners had already won a race that season, all of the last 9. 9 of the last 10 winners ran 24 days ago or more. 8 of the last 10 winners had 3 or more career wins. 7 of the last 9. 8 of the last 10 winners ran in a Group 2 or better last time out, and 8 of the last 10 winners were priced 9 to 2 or shorter. So look, it's a Group 1, it's a classic, it's a race where you'd like to think that the market knows a bit about what's going on. So we'll use those trends to peer it out, and again, I'll speed it up and we'll come back and discuss. Okay, so doing the St Leger Trends here, you might notice a tone in my voice. Los Angeles is the horse that does come out on top of ticking all the boxes. I guess the reason why there's the looseness in my voice is we don't definitely know whether this horse is going to actually line up on the day. Now, a few horses that faltered on things. Illinois has only got 2 wins, where you want a horse that's got 3 career wins. Horses like Rian Bruegel and Grosvenor Square ran in Group 3s last time out, whereas the trends would suggest you want to be running a Group 2 or better. You Got To Me falls short because it's running in the last 23 days instead of 24 or more, so probably being harsh in the instance of that one there. And Sunways gets whipped off straight away because it hasn't won a race this season. So there are a lot of horses that would be fairly close to ticking most of the boxes, but not all. If Los Angeles runs, though, Los Angeles is the horse that ticks every single trend in this race. I don't know if he's going to run. I don't think, looking at the prices, he probably would, because I would imagine he'd be shorter. But again, we'll see what happens at final declarations, and then you would be able to whip them down and make the best of what are in there. So if you were to come to a trend, for example, that would wipe out the entire field, you need to then potentially step back and decide to be a bit more lenient, maybe do 5 out of 6 or any of that sort of stuff. But it does mean if you start doing that, we are going to bring in almost everything. Illinois, Jan Bruegel, Grosvenor Square, You Got To Me, Sunway, the Era Mile. Lots of these horses are going to come back in that potentially wouldn't have been there in the first instance. So that is what it is. If Los Angeles runs in the St Leger, you heard it here first, he's going to win the St Leger. But let's just see how they go. Right, we'll crack on. Good races as it is. There are plenty of other good races to get stuck into. So the construction handicap after the Doncaster Festival, I talked about this in days 1, day 2, is being bolstered. So there's a few new races and some that haven't got that much history. Only 1 race, so no trends on that yet. We do have a maiden stakes, which has been introduced in 2020, but there was no race in 2022. So we've got 3 run-ins. Not really a lot to go by again. 2 of the last 3 winners had not already raced, the last 2, and 2 of the 3 winners were trained by the Gosdens, the last 2. So really, I'll quickly appeal to it now. We don't need to take some time out to mute this one. If John Gosden's got a runner in it, then you're gonna have to take note, especially if it's an unraced runner. So that you've got Tycoon that has already run and then you've got Valedictory. So that Valedictory would be the one that would be very interesting in the fact of ticking the profile. It's never run, but let's be honest, how can you be using trends or stats or potentially trying to follow it on in just saying because it's never run? It's mad. So look, they are what they are. I probably put that in more as a token gesture of saying what we can do with smaller numbers. But we do have the SPAC 25th anniversary handicap to close the card. It's a 1 mile handicap. I like these types of races, so we'll see. We've got a couple of 9s, we've got plenty of 8s, and then some 7s to bolster enthusiasm after. So we've got single figure priced winners. Again, we don't know that for definite yet. 4 or more runs this season. A lot of horses should be doing that now. We're in the autumn spell. Carrying between 8, 9 and 9, 4. We won't know that for definite just yet, but I can have a look. Running a handicap last time out, we'll know that. Ran at 1 mile last time out, we'll know that. Finished top 5 last time out, we'll know that. Had won a race that season. So we'll know that. Did not win last time out. And then the 7 of the last 10 winners were 3-year-olds too. So again, to really, if you need to use them, you've got the extra ones underneath. So let's layer this up and see what comes out on top. Okay, so we're left with a handful of horses. We've got 5 that are left here. Now, I've left these because there's potentially more that I want to whittle this down to a little bit. Now, Johan is currently jocked up by Ross O'Ryan, the only booking for this horse this weekend in terms of entries. So I would imagine that the weights are going to hold up. So I have been able to do the carrying weights between 8, 9 and 9, 4. Now, I can't tell you what's going to be single figure priced. We'll have to see what comes out after. And I did whittle down these using a little bit further down the field bit. I haven't used 7 of the last 10 winners with 3-year-olds. And I haven't used 7 of the last 10 winners did not win last time out. And I haven't used 7 of the last 10 winners had won a race that season. Because look, if we did that, if we were to look at the 3-year-olds, Treasure Time and Thunder Run, they both didn't win last time out. So which of those are we picking? If we were to look at horses that had won a race this season, it would keep all of these in and it would take out Mersky. But then again, we're keeping in all horses that won last time out. So where would you choose your preference? So look, we've got 3 horses that have been jocked up here. We've got Mersky, Godwinson, Thunder Run, Tolstoy, and Treasure Time. Those would be the horses that I would say at the moment. They are the short list. It's hard. Sometimes it will come out. But like I say, these handicap races, trainers can be creatures of habits. They'll know the patterns and types of things you need to go in there for it. But it would be the type of leg where I feel looking at this that you could get, I don't know, a really well fancied unexposed horse that just dots up as a short price favourite. Or you could end up getting horses like this that, you know, they are the ones that might go in at a bit of a bigger price for your play spot legs. But look, we'll see who stands their ground. As it stands, Mersky and Godwinson haven't been jocked up. So it may be that it just goes down to the 3 runners. And then obviously when the prices come out, if they're single figure prices, that would help with the argument. But that's where we are at the moment. And as I say, you can do this yourself by clicking the links in the description and picking up the cheat sheets. We're going to crack on. I'll get straight into this. We've got some nice cards to get into. The Sunday often gets forgotten about and left behind. I think there's at least 4 of these races I've got trends for, so we will be quicker, and there's a couple of new instances. The Potemps Network Handicap is a new race, so we don't have anything for that. I think there's a couple of 5 furlong handicaps that are new for 2024, but we do have the City of Doncaster Handicap, Class 2 over 7 furlongs. Fields can be a little bit smaller in some of these. You'll see some stall drawings, but they are definitely relevant. I wouldn't put them down if they weren't. 9 of the last 10 winners were drawn in stall 6 or lower. 9 of the last 10 winners had 3 or more runs that season. 9 of the last 10 winners had no more than 2 career wins. 9 of the last 10 winners ran a handicap last time out. 9 of the last 10 winners ran a class 3 or better last time out. 8 of the last 10 winners did not win last time out. And 7 of the last 10 winners had a 90 plus official rating, and the last 5. So that's even more reason why I would probably pop that type of statistic in there. 7 of the last 10 having more than 90, but the last 5 do. As I say, it could be recency biases coming to the fore, or it could be that it's a better targeted race. Let me whittle it down. We'll come back and we'll see where we're at. Okay, so we're actually left with a chunk. We've got 7 qualifiers off of all those trends that are in there, and we do have most of those jocked up. 4 of the 7 have been jocked up. So I don't know how much further we can whittle this down other than when the draw comes out, because as I touched on, 9 of the last 10 winners were drawn in stall 6 or lower. 9 of the last 10 winners had 3 or more runs that season. That ticked off pretty much everyone bar a couple in there. And the career wins managed to peel a few horses out as well. I think we only had a couple of last time out winners. So it did whittle down the field to an extent in there. But I talk about the draw being important for some of these races, and I talk about some of these being sort of smaller fields. This City of Doncaster Stakes Handicap has had an average of 8 runners in the field. You can see I've got 6 potential qualifiers that are in here, but they have been drawn in stall 6 or lower. I think the other one was drawn in stall 7, but there were 7 runners in that race. So look, draw could help us whittle this one down. there are going to still be plenty of qualifiers, and at the prices that they're already looking at, you've got quite a few that are short. So it's probably going to be a case that this race, the trends aren't going to be able to steer you directly enough to a short enough shortlist that you would stick with it. But it may be the case that if you had a couple that you did fancy in here, it may whittle down. Be interesting to see the final field for this one, because there's plenty more entered in than I would have thought, and we've already got quite a few that are jocked up as well. So interesting one. And like I say, unfortunately, I'd love to say that these stats will give you the winner every single race all of the time, but this is the harsh reality of what they are. But still, I do think they're worth knowing. And like I say, that draw potentially is going to be the big one that will split that field. Moving on to the Sceptre Filly Stakes. Keep wanting to say Spectre the whole time. You guys all know why. Let's move into the stats on this one. So a Group 3. So again, I've touched on this and I'll reiterate every single time. Group races, I feel like they'll be more obvious, the trends that are in there, and it might be more obvious the winner without the trends, but we'll see what comes out. Obviously, Los Angeles will win the St Leger if he runs. All of the last 10 winners had already run at 7 furlongs. I'd expect that to be the case for most. All of the last 10 winners had run had 4 or more runs that season. So again, don't know if I'd expect that for everyone. You do get it for the handicappers, but we'll see. 9 of the last 10 winners had between 2 and 4 career wins. 8 of the last 10 winners had an official rating of 101 plus. That could help. 8 of the last 10 winners ran in listed company or better last time out. Again, probably should help. And 8 of the last 10 winners did not win last time out. And last 7 were all true of that. So potentially that's the most important of the 8 out of 10 stats. And then 7 of the last 10 winners run at 7.5 or 8 furlongs last time out. That's put in because they were dropping back down to 7 furlongs. Maybe there'll be something in that we can whittle this down. But let's have a look and I'll come back to you. All right, I'm going to leave it there. You can see Ch&Cs has been a little bit highlighted. I've left Ch&Cs in for the purpose of this, that it needs to be removed, but it's almost reluctantly, right? Again, you can pick and choose whatever you want to do with the stats. I do like this filly anyway. She's dropping back in crit, which I do think is quite interesting for her. She's got the 5 wins, and I said on the trends that we had 9 of the last 10 winners had between 2 and 4 career wins. So we'd need to buck that trend. So for the purpose of that, she's out of here, but I'm staggered she's 16s, especially being jocked up. This is a bag, I'd have thought, a Group 3. Anywho, the 2 that do come in with ticking all the boxes, and that is all the way down, neither of them are jocked up at the moment. We've got Matilda Picot and we've got Doom. We'll obviously have to see which of those potentially line up. But if you would look doing this purely off the trends perspective, they would be the 2 for the shortlist to pay attention to. 4 final declarations. Who knows? Like I say, we'll be doing the GG Weekend Watch, and this is an ITV race, so I might be able to make a case for Ch&Cs in there instead. Right, so trends video day, button it. The Leger Legends Classified Stakes, Class 5 we've got in here. You wouldn't think that festival would be having a Class 5 race in there. It's over a mile. It's definitely a bit of a novelty race. Tony McCoy's won this race. But look, I'll touch on some stats that are in here, and then we'll look at the race, because it is a classified stakes. So the second stat in particular will be interesting, right? 9 of the last 10 winners were drawn in stall 7 or lower, and the other was the second highest. Now, the reason why I've talked about the lower stall draws, and I wanted to tell you the field size for the City of Doncaster Stakes handicap, is because this particular race, there's normally 16 plus runners, but the winners keep coming from stall 7 or lower. So a low draw is huge in this race. And the other winner of the race, so to make it 10 out of 10, came from the second highest. There were non-runners. I could quickly go and double check, but it may even have been the case that he was the widest stall after non-runners. But look, that if you've got a field of 16 plus, some years there's been 20 runners in this, you can whittle most of the field down by that draw, but we do not have that at the moment. So I think we're going to be left with loads. 8 of the last 10 winners had an official rating of exactly 70. Again, classified stakes, you'll see with the numbers, but we are where we are with that. There'll be lots of 70s. 8 of the last 10 winners had 2 or 3 career wins. 8 of the last 10 winners carried 11 stone or more, so we may or may not know how to do that just yet. 8 of the last 10 winners did not win last time out. 7 of the last 10 winners did not run at exactly 1 mile last time out, so they vary in distances. I think there's horses that come from 6.5 furlongs to go, so that could be an interesting one to whittle it down. And 7 of the last 10 winners were aged 3 or 4, so again, could be helpful there. So look, let me ever go through this. We'll see if we can get left in the Leger Legends Classified Stakes. And as novelty as a race as it is, we'll see what comes out on top. Well, there we are. We've whittled it down to just one single horse. Guiteau for Dominic French Davis will win the Leger Legends Classified Stakes, providing it's drawn in stall 7 or lower, or is really, really, really high, like the highest or the second highest in the draw. Look, I say it being a bit of a novelty race. It's not like as much as I'm sort of taking the mick out of a little bit. It's just because of where their rating bands are. I've done the 70 as the official rating. We've had 9, so we've had 8 of the last 10 winners have been exactly 70. So you, again, I'm probably being really harsh on there, but you've got a field or a potential field of 20 plus runners that could be in here. I think, no, sorry, the max is 16 now. It's been chopped down. We have had bigger ones that come in for the draw, and then you get reserves. But you're going to want to see a horse that's drawn low. So look, it may be that this is one that needs to be revisited at final declarations. But if Cateau gets drawn in stall 7 or lower, then he's the one that ticks all of the boxes. And for the sake of the price of a lottery ticket, as Andrew Mount would say, might well have a little poke in there. What else have we got for day 4? I think the last we've got is the classic bookmaker handicap chase, because we've got just one runner of the Judy Parks handicap and so 2 runners of the apprentice handicap, and we saw how novelty that panned out with me showing you the Gosden maiden. But we've got the classic bookmaker handicap, 6.5 furlongs, and you'll see there is an absolute abundance of trends for us to go out within here. Most of these are 9 out of 10s or all, so we should hopefully better not dip into the 7s, and we'll better pick the winner of this one. So let me go through there. We'll see if we can find the winner of the not the lucky last, but the lucky last one we've got a trend on. Okay, so we're left again with a handful in here. We can see Safi Osborne and Charles Hills have got the top 2 in this particular list. They can't both run with Safi up top, and I'd imagine they both won't run. Now, Orizario hasn't won this season, but a lot of the other horses haven't either, but hasn't had the 5 runs this season plus. I mean, all of them had a 3 plus, so it's kind of forgiving of that one. I wanted to leave it in there because we don't know who Safi's going to be on, but of the one that would tick the extended trends, the only horse that would be left would be Divine Libra. So that's why I've left in the other Safi Osborne horse, because if Divine Libra didn't run and Safi Osborne was on Orizario, then, you know, Orizario would be on the shortlist of the next best. But look, as it stands, if this final field would stand as it is and Divine Libra runs, then Divine Libra is the one that ticks every single box compared to the others within here. But these would be the longer shortlist, bringing into the fact of being officially rated 91 or higher. Yeah, so that's where we are with those. Big field handicap potentially there. We'll see what comes out of it, but Divine Libra will be the one that comes out on top. So look, we'll leave it there. I've waffled enough. You guys will have plenty of stuff to get stuck into. As I say, the links are in the description to find out for yourself. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please do drop a like and a comment if you would be so kind. And we will see you later on this week for the weekend watch, where it's Andrew, Matty, and myself. So it's all the boys for Doncaster. Be lucky and see you soon.